So we have a Sunday update for you, and I'm sure that many of you will enjoy this. As you know, the past 24 to 48 hours have been ridiculous, and I didn't entertain any of this, and I'm happy I didn't entertain any of this, even in the comment section. But there are people who are like tax consultants on Long Island. I looked one of them up on LinkedIn, and they are acting like they're NFL insiders, and they're posting that Brandon Aiyuk has requested a trade based on their sources, which are obviously fake. The problem is that way too many of you, and maybe not viewers of my channel, but way too many people out there who consume NFL news believe these random people. And some of these tweets have gotten like 1 million impressions. So word has gotten out there, false word has gotten out there that Brandon Aiyuk has requested a trade, which obviously is not true. So today, Brandon Aiyuk's agent has just taken to Twitter, and he's taken one of these accounts to task. Breaking: Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade from the 49ers per confirmation from my San Francisco source. I mean, anybody who knows how to discern information should already be able to tell that's fake based on the wording. But Ryan Williams, who is Brandon Aiyuk's agent, has quote tweeted it and said, "You need better sources." A savage takedown of John Frischella, who has football in parentheses. Imagine if my Twitter handle, what if it's a David Lombardi football in parentheses? You'd immediately assume, I would hope, that everything coming from my account is fake if you saw that. But obviously, Brandon Aiyuk has not requested a trade because his agent himself has said that he hasn't requested a trade. A trade would be a mechanism like we saw from Deebo Samuel 2 years ago to put the 49ers' feet to the fire in negotiations. So the last person to want to deny it would be his agent. So the only reason that the agent is denying it here is because it's actually fake news. It hasn't happened. Brandon Aiyuk has not requested a trade. On top of this, we should mention that Ryan Williams, who's Brandon Aiyuk's agent, is good friends with John Lynch. Their relationship goes back 20 plus years. I think that Ryan Williams helped John Lynch get a Campbell's Chunky Soup commercial. I think back when John Lynch was a player, I think that's how that relationship first started. Ryan Williams helped him get that commercial. I'm not 100% sure of that, but it is, I believe, where the agent relationship there. I think that helped Ryan Williams' career get started. So anyway, Williams and Lynch have a good relationship. Williams and Lynch are obviously the 2 point people at the head of these talks. And then you obviously have people on the 49ers side and other people on Aiyuk's side trying to get this hammered out. There's a history of the 49ers successfully paying their A-list players, and the 49ers have classified Brandon Aiyuk as an A-list player. This is my article, what Brandon Aiyuk's potential new contract with the 49ers might look like. I go through the years and the signing bonus and the option bonus, and obviously the average per year, the cap hits. They can lower his cap hit this season by about $6 million. So, one way to quickly spot people who don't know what they're talking about is people that say, oh, they can't extend Aiyuk because the cap numbers of Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel combined would be too big this year. That is an immediate red flag that the person who's typing that, and there are people in 49ers media who've typed this, that's an immediate red flag that this person doesn't know what they're talking about. If his cap number is 14.1 million right now, and you can do this to Brandon Aiyuk's contract, you can give him a big signing bonus and you could give him a big option bonus, which is guaranteed, that spread the cap hits out like an accordion over future years, perhaps even with a void year. You can take his cap hit down from 14.1 million in 2024 to 8.1 million this year. This is just based on my calculations, but the calculations are verified by the way that the 49ers have done contracts in the past. So you can actually free up more short-term room and keep his cap hit down at 12.2 million in 2025 and 12 million in 2026 when Brock Purdy gets paid, presumably. If you can do that, then you're in a spot where this can fit under the salary cap. It's not a situation where Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel cost too much money combined. So people are relying on faulty understanding of the salary cap and how this deal would work to create false narratives that they hope get a lot of clicks and a lot of followers and a lot of engagement, because I guess they get paid by engagement, in tweets that are not rooted in any sort of reality, but are rooted in trust me, bro, speculation moving forward. They're hoping that moving forward, whatever they put out there regarding Brandon Aiyuk, because something similar has happened in the past. Deebo Samuel requested a trade on April 20th, 2 years ago, right around this time. It'd be the Wednesday of this week. It'd be April 17th this year. They're hoping that if they put that information out now, if history does repeat itself, then they could say that they were right. The problem is that they are not basing anything in any sort of fact right now. And I can tell you that this situation is different fundamentally based on the relationship between the agent and the team. Ryan Williams, John Lynch, friends, know each other, good relationship there. 2 years ago, Tory Dandy had 3 clients, and he might have had a good relationship with the 49ers, but he had 3 clients who were all gunning for new contracts in offseason. A.J. Brown, who was with the Tennessee Titans at the time, DK Metcalf, who's with the Seattle Seahawks, and Deebo Samuel. So he had to satisfy the needs of all 3 clients. And one of the tools that he used was the trade request. He tried to put teams' feet to the fire with trade requests. As you saw, the Titans ended up trading A.J. Brown from Tennessee to the Philadelphia Eagles, and he got a new contract, $100 million, 4 years, $25 million per year. The Deebo Samuel trade request went through, but the 49ers did not honor it. They held firm. And because they held firm, I think that they're actually in a much better position now to call future bluffs, right? The Titans, they buckled a couple years ago with A.J. Brown and Tory Dandy. The 49ers did not buckle with Tory Dandy and Deebo Samuel. And because of that, because they hung in the pocket, they got the deal done. They realized that they had all of the contractual control on their side. Deebo was still under contract with the 49ers. Because the 49ers didn't buckle, they've developed a reputation of being a team that you can't just say, hey, we're going to request a trade and they're going to do it with, right? The 49ers, I think in that situation, that precedent has helped carry forward. Then you consider the fact that Ryan Williams and John Lynch do have that relationship, and you could probably expect this time around to go more smoothly. None of this suggests that it's impossible that the 49ers trade Brandon Aiyuk. It obviously is possible. But as I've been saying throughout the entire process, they're going to need a king's ransom to be moved off of their position. That Brandon Aiyuk is better off on this football team, just for Brandon Aiyuk and for the football team too. The 49ers are in no business of getting worse right now. This is a team that has gotten so frustratingly close to winning a Super Bowl over the past 5 years that they are in full, let's just get a little bit better and kick the door mode down right now. The 49ers are not in a position where they can sit back, decide, okay, wait, we need to recalibrate our books. We need to take some money off the books, maybe get a draft pick back, and maybe be better in 2 or 3 years because of it. They are not in that position right now. The 49ers are in a position where they have to retain the current roster. And if they do not retain one of the key elements of that roster, they need to make absolutely sure that the maneuver that they're making is helping them get better in another way immediately. It can't be 2 or 3 years down the line. So in the case of Arik Armstead, the 49ers saw a player who had missed 13 games of the past 2 seasons. They obviously didn't classify him as an A-lister anymore because of the missed time and the availability concerns. So the way that they maneuvered there, they obviously saved a lot of money by not having Armstead on the roster this year, but they were able to get Malik Collins, who they feel is more durable, and they're able to augment the defensive line with their extra money with players that they think makes the floor of the defensive line better. So they think they've gotten better overall along the defensive line. In the case of Brandon Aiyuk, if you were to let him go, the 49ers have to ask themselves, in what scenario can we get better immediately without Brandon Aiyuk on this football team? And let me show you this. There aren't many scenarios, if any scenarios, in which you can get better without Brandon Aiyuk on this football team this next season. Why is that? Well, look at how good Brandon Aiyuk was this past year. This is one of those XY charts. Brandon Aiyuk is up here. He's on the top right. Separation grade on the x-axis, catch point and yak grade on the y-axis. He's absolutely dominating everyone else. And these are all the other NFL receivers on this chart. I mean, there's a massive gap between Aiyuk and everyone else. He's an outlier on the top right. You don't just lose a talent like this on the team. Somebody who led the NFL by a mile in yards per catch. Somebody who's one of the best blocking receivers in the NFL, which fits perfectly with your system. Somebody who's one of the better separators in the NFL. Someone who's some of the better hands in the NFL. I won't say the best hands, but he's got really damn good hands. I mean, he's a technician at this point. He's evolved within the system. He's learned the way that Kyle Shanahan wants to do things. He's a leader in the locker room. You don't just replace somebody like this. You don't just let him go and say, we can easily get better. The only way that you could potentially get better, and it's still just potentially, it's not for sure if Brandon Aiyuk leaves this team, is if you get a king's ransom in return. Something like a first-round draft pick high up in the draft so you can go and get one of the best offensive tackles or linemen in the game to protect Purdy, and you get a wide receiver in return. So maybe you could get 70% of Brandon Aiyuk's ability in return, but then you also improve the offensive line. That would be one path in which the 49ers could theoretically get better without Brandon Aiyuk. But the chances of you getting that haul in return, the king's ransom, as we have called it ever since the Deebo Samuel situation, the chances of you getting that haul in return are really small. So therefore, the chances of a trade are really small. And by extension, you should stop believing randoms on the internet when it comes to important topics like the Brandon Aiyuk topic. Again, those of you who've just joined, there was a random on the internet that said that Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade from the 49ers. He was obviously guessing per his confirmation from his San Francisco source. He's obviously guessing. It's first look at it. You know, there's a reason I hadn't talked about this because it's not true. But it gotten to the point where so many people were believing this and so many people were, starting to spread this around that Brandon Aiyuk's agent, Ryan Williams, had to step in and say, you need better sources. Yes, John Frischella needs better sources. And he wasn't the only one. There are a couple 49ers accounts without a name on them who are notorious for this. They will take logic. So they'll say, okay, this might happen based on some of the rumors and based on some of the reports and based on some of the strategy that the 49ers have operated with in the past. They'll say this might happen, and they'll report it as if it's going to happen according to a fake source. And then if it does actually happen, which wouldn't be shocking in some of these situations because they are basing it on logic, if it does actually happen, they'll claim credit for it 5 days down the road. They'll be like, oh, see, I said that this was going to happen. My sources were right. But these accounts, you'll never hear from them again on the matter if it doesn't happen, if the opposite happens. So the Twitter is filled with this, and I'm sure YouTube is filled with this, is people guessing, but they are presenting that guess as fact. And it is about time that one of these people was checked by a legitimate source, and obviously Brandon Aiyuk's agent himself is a legitimate source. But beware of the 49ers accounts that like 49. I don't want to name the specific account because I don't want to generate traffic to it. I also don't want to give the wrong Twitter handle, and I know a lot of those accounts are similar. So beware of some of those accounts. Just go and look up the ones that have reported a Brandon Aiyuk trade request, and that's probably one that you could put on mute. That's probably one that you don't need to follow. And then beware of these national accounts. I think a lot of these accounts got picked up by Steelers fans because Steelers fans stood to be, according to these rumors, the beneficiaries of potential trade, because it was Pittsburgh and Brandon Aiyuk that were the leaders in the rumor mill in this situation. And then Pittsburgh fans are going out and running with it, and it just turns into a complete mess. But Brandon Aiyuk's agent, Ryan Williams, said you need better sources. So anyway, the contract projection is up on this article. This is one that you do need to check out. What Brandon Aiyuk's potential new contract with the 49ers might look like. I wrote this on April 3rd, so it's about 11 days old. And I stand by everything in it. I mean, we talked about multiple things. First, the receiver market. I expect Brandon Aiyuk to be near the top of this. I don't know if he's going to be at the very top. This is sorted by average per year and fully guaranteed money. If you actually go to the article, you could toggle by column. But, Tyreek Hill, $30 million per year. He is leading the way. The problem with his deal is that there is some non-guaranteed money, that a big chunk of it that comprises that average per year total. Then there's the fully guaranteed total from Tyreek Hill, which is $52.5 million. That means a little bit more to me than the APY. I think that Aiyuk is going to come in the top 5 of APY, but to me, that's more of a vanity number. You can fluff that up with funny money that isn't fully guaranteed at the end of the deal, but the fully guaranteed money you can't fluff up. That is fully guaranteed, period. And I think that Aiyuk is going to be above 50 million fully guaranteed. Why do I think that? And by the way, that would be rivaling Tyreek Hill's fully guaranteed total for the top ever for a wide receiver. I think that because fully guaranteed money is a mechanism in the NFL for keeping a cap hit low. Because signing bonuses and option bonuses, the guaranteed ones, are prorated over 5 years, they're stretched out like an accordion against the cap. You can actually keep a player's cap hit lower if you give him a lot of fully guaranteed money. This gives an advantage to cash-rich teams that are willing to pay that massive amount of fully guaranteed money and able to do so. And the 49ers are one of the cash-rich teams in the league. If you're able to do that, then you can actually pay your guys record amounts of money while lowering their cap hit in the near term. So the 49ers probably are going to have to pay Brock Purdy next off season. Because of that, they need to make sure that they have ample cap room in 2025 and beyond. Especially in the first couple of years of Purdy's deal, you want as much flexibility as possible. So the last thing you want to do is put Brandon Aiyuk on the books with a $30 million cap hit in 2024, 2025, or 2026. The good news is you don't have to do that. You can take his $14 million cap hit and lower it to $8 million this year and then keep it at $12 million in each of the past 2 years by giving him a really big signing bonus, $30 million, and then giving him a guaranteed option bonus that kicks in next year at $20 million. This is my contract proposal that stretches the number out over 5 and then 6 years with the option bonus not starting until 2025. So go ahead, check it out. This is where it is. What Brandon Aiyuk's potential new contract with the 49ers might look like. I'm actually going to copy this, paste it in my chat with Mike, and ask Mike to put it into the description. You can go ahead and check it out on The Athletic. So that is that. The 49ers, Brandon Aiyuk, they continue working toward a deal. Brandon Aiyuk's agent, Ryan Williams, says you need better sources to one of these guys who is making stuff up on the internet. Nobody is saying that a trade is impossible, but people that are reporting that a trade request is actually true right now, they're just guessing moving forward. So be careful where you get your information from. Continue monitoring the situation and know the context behind it. There's a good relationship between Ryan Williams and John Lynch, the 2 point people of this negotiation between Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers. We are less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. That is the next big inflection point. The reason that a trade request would happen at this time, the reason that Deebo Samuel requested a trade the Wednesday of this coming week in the context of the build-up to the draft in 2022, so that'd be Wednesday the 17th this year, is Wednesday the 20th in 2022. The reason that happens right now is because the NFL draft is a major inflection point for a potential trade. If the 49ers are going to get a king's ransom back for Brandon Aiyuk, if they were going to get one back for Deebo Samuel 2 years ago, it would probably have to include draft picks from that season. Because again, the 49ers were in win now mode in 2022. They're in win now mode right now. You're going to need an immediate return to try to get better in the now. If the draft passes, it's going to be really hard to get better in the now because we don't see many player for player trades in the NFL. So all of these rumors, they're going to hit fever pitch. Maybe even real trade requests will hit fever pitch over the next week or so. but then the draft will pass and some of this should settle down. All right, you need better sources. That's true. Make sure that you follow the good sources for this 49ers news. We'll talk to you very soon.